Hello? Let us finally start. Over to us now. Just a few housekeeping to get out of the way. We're hashtagging Road to Davos ZW. The Global Shapers, look for Global Shapers Bulawayo and Global Shapers Harare. YGL Voices, and at WEF, please, and Vimbai Kajese. And let's not forget the sponsors at Capi Talk. And this will be broadcast live on their Facebook, as well on the Global Shapers Harare Hub. Now that we have those housekeepings out of the way, Your Excellency, I'd like to ask you to take a selfie. It's a new phone, so... There we go. Okay. You want to press? Okay. Yeah, you can press. There you go. Okay, press. Yeah. All right. Please remember to tweet at the right people. Now, thank you so much for coming and gracing us with your presence. We are so honored to have you here. It has been an amazing and interesting couple of months for you. You have been extremely busy. Quite a whirlwind, we must say. And we are here because, well, quite frankly, Your Excellency, we have a few questions. We're curious. So let me take you back a couple of months. If you don't mind, to those rallies. My mind goes back, and I see this clip. Your face, priceless, as you're sitting there, absorbing these attacks. I want to know, and I'm sure everybody wants to know, Your Excellency, what were you thinking?
Well, first, may I say, I have to acknowledge the presence of my two vice presidents and the ministers who are here, government officials, and the rest of you comrades who are here. Yes, I think that the interface, the presidential youth interface rallies are not complete. They ought to be 10, only we did 9. So they still, I thought this was the 10th one. But I realized that this 10th one would be different from the 9. Of the 9, we began in Mashonaland East. As we went on, it became slightly harder, slightly troublesome, and as we went on, it became very worrying. Then, of course, what you have omitted is before the Baba Fields, or the 9th one in is it Baba Fields? White City Stadium in Bulawayo. You have forgotten that I was airlifted to South Africa. That was, I think, the 6th or 7th interface rally. So I have a vice president who says he wants to become president. And I've told him that he needs, to go through, he needs 9 interface rallies. And then he must be airlifted to South Africa. He must become a border jumper. Then, yes, he can be considered to sit here.
Any dietary recommendations?
Yes, you must always eat African food. Finished, yes.
You heard it right there. You heard it right there.
So what was I thinking at these interface rallies? I really thought that those who were making accusation on me or some of my colleagues, like Charamba, were ignorant of who I was and who Charamba was. Also, that a perception created outside our actual persons, and they misunderstood us. If a person misunderstands you, pity him. You don't get worried. So I wasn't worried because I was misunderstood.
Learn from that, ladies and gentlemen. Such resilience. Which brings you to my next question. What is your relationship like with the former president? Do you guys still chat?
Oh, yes. I am here because for the last 54 years, he was holding my hand. For the last 54 years. So, to me, he is my father, my mentor, my icon, my revolutionary leader. But time comes when he then gets influenced because I believe of age. He was surrounded by, somebody described the people who surrounded him as criminals. I don't know if and I think the guy is around who said that statement. So I don't believe that some of the actions he made at the 11th hour were genuinely his own. Because I remember when I was in South Africa, I phoned him and said, Mr. President, how are you? He says, oh, Emmerson, where are you? I said, I was in South Africa. I says, why? He said, oh, Chef, you fired me 3-4 days ago. That's all. No, come back to State House. No, there'll be security here, State House. Come back to State House. So I realized that the things were not what I used to know. So as a result of that, I have no ill feelings at all towards former President Mugabe. I chat with him. That is what you wanted to hear.
Thank you. The truth. So you've given us an example of reconciliation. What does reconciliation, a successful reconciliation for the country, look like for you?
I have said today when we were at the other forum that I came back on a Wednesday evening and I was sworn on a Friday, which means I had only 24 hours in between my arrival and preparing myself to become president. But in my statement, my inauguration statement, I spoke about reconciliation. I spoke about having bygones, being bygones, meaning there's nothing we can do about the past. Those things have happened. The acts of omission, acts of commission, which happened in the past, yes, in some areas we get to learn lessons from what has happened. But let's put that behind us because we'll not leave it again. My message is, as we go forward, let us preach love, unity always. We are all Zimbabweans. Let us accept each other. I believe that every single Zimbabwean, young or old, rich or poor, tall or short, blind or with eyes, every single Zimbabwean, in my view, has a role to play and is an important person to bring our nation forward. So my appeal is, let us look into the future. That is the only space we can improve the future, not the past. That is my message.
Thank you. So now that you are here, we are sitting beside each other. Your Excellency, please explain. What's the plan?
The plan is that I'm disappointed there are few youths who are here. That's first thing. The second thing, I believe that wherever the youths are, in Zimbabwe, I say to them, this is a moment where they must speak out, where they must tell my administration what their challenges are, what they would want us to do, what environment they would want my team to create for them. We are good listeners. At least I am a good listener. I'm not so sure about all my colleagues. But I myself am a good listener and would want to listen. And with them dialogue and say, this is where I want to go. But one principle in my own vision is that this nation should not go where it wants to go. This nation should go where it ought to go. Nice or not nice, but we must go where we ought to go. And as a leader, I have a vision as to where the nation should go. Fortunately, my team supports that vision as to where the nation must go. I would want to share with the young people, the younger generation, because we are doing this for them, for their future lives, so that they themselves, when they take over from us, they have a vision of a country that is united, a vision that works and makes sure that whatever they're doing not only for their own good, but for legacy of the generations to come.
Thank you, Excellency. Now, I'm going to test your listening skills right now. I want to paint a scenario just to get a bit specific. Let's just say we have a Tendai. Tendai? Yes, a fictional Tendai.
Yes.
Tendai lives at home with one parent, perhaps their mom. They haven't had a real job. They're about 27. They're competing against 20-year-olds that have had internships around the world. In fact, their resume is not up to scratch for international headhunters. On top of living at home, because they live at home, they haven't been able to date properly. So they haven't developed socially in that aspect. My question to you, Your Excellency, and to your team is, what type of enabling environment can your administration create for Tendai so that they can thrive professionally, but perhaps get a real date?
There are possibly 2 or 3 things which we must embrace. First, my team, myself, speak about Zimbabwe is open for business. Zimbabwe embraces free economy. However, we have a rider to that. Not everybody can thrive in a free market economy. So we must realize that there is a need to have social nets to look after those who cannot succeed in a free market economy. This is why I have this young lady as Minister for Social Services. So your Tendai can find consolence in what she does. She has a huge field where she creates social safety nets for people in that situation. Secondly, we must, just now, you may remember, but last week I think, I had an interface without youth, but an interface with the higher institutions of learning, universities and higher institutions of learning, where I was persuading them that going forward, our institutions of learning should talk to industry, or industry should talk to our institutions of learning, so that the needs of commerce, the needs of industry are addressed when we are molding our youths in our institutions. So your Tendai would go through these institutions and she would find where she fits in order to be marketable in economy, in commerce, in industry, infrastructure development, in ICT. That again will help her find her place. Thirdly, yes, when all those things are there and still she finds she fits nowhere with the family, we have that ministry to look after them and make sure they are given possibilities of resuscitating themselves to be self-sufficient or self-reliant as a family.
Thank you. Thank you for that. But I want to challenge you on that, Your Excellency, because realistically, we cannot ignore that the government that is tasked to serve the demographic, there is quite a big age difference. 80% of our population is under the age of 35. We're basically a teenage country. So my question to you, just going back to the fire and the passion you had as a youth, you were passionate, you were forward-thinking, you had drive. And because of that drive, Your Excellency, you brought about a revolution. So my question to you is for the majority who don't have government relations or special relations, how do you involve us with our passion and our drive to serve your government?
Well, let me say, situations are not different. When I was young like you, our ambition was, our parents were telling us that there was a time when this country was free and not colonized. And that this country had become colonized, and they felt that if they were educated, they would be able to articulate their grievances about land issue. So from that discussions at home in the village, this is in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, we, the young generation of that time, we then felt, oh, we must demonstrate to our parents that we have gone to school and we can fight these people. That was our ambition. At that time, we didn't care about, well, look, we were very young. We didn't even have girlfriends, nor do we have any property to think about. All what we had was what we were putting on. So you didn't care about what was happening, even about your life. You didn't know where you eat tomorrow, where you will sleep tomorrow. But our ambition was to liberate this country. And to us, it was really something deep down. We're committed to doing that. But I don't think it's the same with you. I think your commitment now, if you at my age of 17, 18, 19, is now different. You are thinking about getting married. You are thinking about having a car. You are thinking about having a house. You are thinking about going for a holiday.
It's the basics.
Oh. Now, for instance, that's exactly what happens. My own children will sometimes say, Daddy, would want to go to Victoria Falls for a holiday. It's not school, this is a school holiday, want to go to Victoria Falls. I say, when I went to school, I never went to a holiday or asked my parents to go for a holiday. Says, you are stupid. You should have asked your mother or your dad to go for a holiday. Then I realized they don't understand how we were brought up. But so there's that difference. As you yourself here, you think that these things are basic. To us, they were in the sky. They were not things which we had ambition for, not at all. But today, this is different. And this is why I say I need dialogue. I need contact. I need discussion, conversation with the young generation for me to understand their challenges, their aspirations. Where we are able, we'll be able to satisfy their needs or their aspirations. Where we are not, we'll be able to explain. And I would want them to be involved in these things so that we leave a legacy where they feel proud about us after we are gone.
Thank you. I just want to touch on a topic that you brought up earlier. You know, thanks to our education, Zimbabwe boasts one of the highest literacy rates. Our diasporans thrive wherever they are as CEOs of multinationals. They are international award-winning. They are some of the best. But when I was doing my research for this interview, Your Excellency, I found that folks on the ground are a bit frustrated because unfortunately our university systems seem to churn out the same accountants, lawyers, and nurses. No offense to all of you. So my question to you, Your Excellency, is how do we change our country's mindset so that we consider and we respect other professions? First question. My second question is, how do we disrupt our educational system, the whole entire pipeline, so that it is more entrepreneurial, more innovative, creative, and critical thought thinking?
Well, let me say that change is not easily embraced by everybody. Some people are so entrenched and rooted and are conservative and would not want to embrace change as quickly as others. But we must realize that we are not an island. We are living in a global village where things are changing on a daily basis, and we should not remain behind. And I believe that the younger generation is more adaptable to change because you have been brought up in that environment. You may have difficulties with my colleagues at my level, but fortunately, we in government, or my team in government, accept that there is change and we must embrace it. We accept that. So that it is up to you, the younger generation, and say, these are the things we want. These are the things we would want you to implement. And how do we achieve that? We achieve that by conversations between ourselves and yourselves, by creating an environment where change gets embraced by everybody. Also, as you've mentioned, the institutions, very many of the institutions in the country, mission schools, government schools, and so on, some of them are rooted in the past. And they have still headmasters who have been headmasters for 20 years or even more. And they wouldn't want to change. But let me assure you, those who do not want to change will remain behind. It is necessary that everybody should accept, but we must change for the good, not for the worse. This is why the good can only come when we dialogue, when we exchange views and so on. So the best is articulated between groups and communities, and we go for the best. That's the change I would like to see among ourselves. So I implore you, the younger generation, not to be afraid of us. Of course, we can't be afraid of you, but I'm saying, the younger generation, please come forward and say, this is what we want.
You heard it right here, ladies and gentlemen. Do not be scared of this new administration. I just want to touch on a few things that you have reiterated, and I'm so comforted and happy to hear that you want dialogue. You actually want feedback, and we appreciate that. But Your Excellency, have you thought of what sort of channels you would like us to use to communicate to you so that you understand the pulse of the people? Or can we make some suggestions?
Well, I have children. They are far ahead of me. I haven't even very well grasped the things called Facebook, Twitter, and all that other, I don't know what to call it. These things you use.
Yes, Snapchat, Instagram,
yes.
Social media.
Social media,
yes.
Right. But I'm so impressed by my children. They are so good. They try to upgrade me occasionally so that I also become modern. I know some of my colleagues here may not be as modern as you yourselves are, but honestly, your question is, how do we communicate?
Yes.
How do we communicate? Among yourselves is easier. You can communicate to the entire world in seconds. When I was your age, when we had to communicate, either you go on a donkey to go to the next village, that's fastest, or you walk. But the system of communication was by word of mouth. This is not there anymore. So I implore my colleagues to make sure they become literate in terms of social media. I'm not that literate, but at least I can move around a bit using social media. So how do we communicate? If you use the most modern methods, we may not be at the same level. But you should yourselves assess where we are and make sure you come to us in a manner, in a communicative manner which we can understand. I don't know what hash means, because there are some stuff.
Hashtags.
Yes, all those things. You explain. Because these are my two vice presidents. If you ask them, they may not even know what you're talking about.
I can see they might be a bit lost.
You see? So, but yet they are eager to communicate with you. So you can't give us the burden to say, what form of communication? Let us share that burden and say, how do we communicate?
Okay, thank you. So just to add to your request for dialogue, would you consider, for example, once every quarter, a group of our generation, every quarter this group changes, sitting with you, having coffee or tea, and just explaining what is working, what is not working? Would you be open to that, Your Excellency?
Well, I should be flexible. We should be flexible. We should not bring around a structure which is fixed and say twice a year we shall meet. Because if we don't meet, then we might take each other to court. Because we have not met for the structured numbers of agreed. But let us agree whenever need arises to meet. I can guarantee you when that happens, I'll always create time to attend to you because it is you, it is the future I would want to put forward.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now, just moving on outward, as we take Zimbabwe to reintegrate into the international community. Reintegration does not just mean foreign direct investment. Reintegration into the international community means reintegrating with our diaspora. So, in any country where there has been a massive brain drain for economic reasons, coming back, reintegrating, assimilating has its challenges. In fact, you can observe this on the micro level, within the family dynamics. It's even the premise of the biblical story of the prodigal son. So my question to you, Your Excellency, is, do you foresee a scenario where there might be a bit of tension or conflict between the brains that stayed and the brains we're about to gain? And if so, what is your suggestion for uniting these two very different mindsets?
At the end of the day, what pleases a Zimbabwean who's in diaspora and what pleases a Zimbabwean who remained in Zimbabwe is the level of comfort each one has, whether at home or outside. If the comrade who is now a diasporian outside there, when he comes back and he still finds an environment where he becomes comfortable, both in terms of employment and in terms of health facilities, access to health, access to education for the children, and so on. And he will be okay, or she will be okay. Also, here back home, we are saying to our people, this is a new order where those who have talent, they should exhibit their talent and will be rewarded. It is a situation where we say Zimbabwe has opened doors for those who want to excel to excel. But we know there are those who may be constrained by various reasons. We cannot leave them behind. We must have a human face to this new order which we want to create so that everybody finds comfort in this new order. And this can only be achieved as we continue to talk to each other, whether from a diasporic point of view or not. I might just mention that my first port of call after I was inaugurated was South Africa. South Africa, why? Because President Zuma is the current chairperson of SADC. So I went there. But our embassy in South Africa asked for a meeting with me and our diaspora in South Africa. Thousands and thousands of our people came and they had a fantastic and a wonderful interface. It wasn't called youth. It was an interface where we exchanged, and I was so impressed by their desire to contribute to home. Others wanting to bring the skills and exposure they have achieved to come and benefit the economy back home. Others would say, well, we'll remain here, but we are fund managers. And a group of 500 or so young people from South Africa, they have put up a fund of $400 million US, which we've allocated them a task to do, refurbishment of our railway inside Zimbabwe. This is fantastic. These are people, if we had not had that discussion or conversation with them, we're not going to have that $400 million. I'm sorry that my minister, Manyon, said we have brought in about $1 billion during the last 49 days. No, it's not $1 billion. Should have asked the governor of the Reserve Bank how much he has come. It's many more times than what you've mentioned.
Thank you for that. So when you talked about a human face to interface with the diasporans, am I hearing inclinations of perhaps a Ministry of Diaspora?
I want a thin cabinet. And the concept of creating new ministries is not consistent with a thin cabinet, which I have already made. The issue is, what are the issues which affect the people in the diaspora? And where can I house them?
Understood.
Then I saw the answer, yes.
Understood, thank you. Now just taking things back onto the home ground, the elections that are coming up in the next few months. Your Excellency, in the past, the youth were used as a tool to intimidate around election times. In fact, this gave the term youth its negative connotations, which were also associated with violence. How do you, Your Excellency, suggest that we, as Zimbabweans, mobilize our youth differently this election cycle so that our skills, our talents, and our passion are put to more productive use to ensure your vision of free and fair elections?
My dear young lady, the pastors preach every day. This is what we must do to go to heaven. And so many people go to church. I remember the former Vice President Mzenda. He went to a church and the pastor preached so well that several women cried. After church, the Vice President, late Vice President Mzenda, went to this lady and said, "Oh, what really touched you during the sermon?" He said, "I have forgotten." So, despite the fact that we have churches all over preaching love, peace, unity, do you get it on the streets?
Not all the time.
Yeah, not all the time. You still have people who commit crime. But the 10 Commandments are there. They are violated every day, but they are there. Now, we preach, I can speak for my party. We preach peace, non-violence, but violence continues to be there. It is not because the party or the leaders don't speak about it. If I ask here and say, can those youths who were forced to commit violence stand up? How many will stand?
It's a new Zimbabwe, you never know.
Those who are compelled to commit violence? None. But it still occurs. So it is necessary that we all, wherever we are, in a private, in a public, at night and day, we speak the same language. Not that at one platform I speak peace and clandestinely I urge violence. That's not acceptable to me. So I believe that We have the capacity as Zimbabweans to be honest about ourselves. Even the youth themselves should not allow or lend themselves to be used by individuals. They must be proud, patriotic Zimbabweans who want to build a peaceful Zimbabwe for themselves and their children in future. So that should be the message.
Please tweet that, ladies and gentlemen. And then on to my final set of questions, Your Excellency, more to an outward focus. The reason why we're all here. Davos. Your Excellency, you are an incredibly busy man. You're trying to turn a country around in a few months. And you're extremely, extremely, extremely popular. Everybody keeps inviting you, everywhere. Everybody wants you at their dinner party. So why, Your Excellency, did you accept the invitation from the chairman, Professor Klaus, to go to Davos?
Yes, I have heard about Davos in the past. I understand this is a place where world leaders assemble, where the brains in industry and commerce assemble, leaders of industry, think tanks of nations, they go and assemble there and exchange views. Where else could one want to be?
Of course.
There. So, I'm an amateur. Kurukuchkoro ndiri nyunyu. So I am going there, one, to learn what is happening, two, to talk about my country, that it is open for business, and this is what we have for the future. That we want to relate. To guarantee those who can come and have business here that Zimbabwe will honor our part of obligation in relation to business. That Zimbabwe has changed, has transformed. Zimbabwe now says, we want to be part of you. We also need you. Even those who were against us last year or in the past, we are saying to them, is there anything you would want us to do in order for you to move away from being hostile to being friendly? We are already friendly even when you are hostile. So why should you continue to be hostile?
Thank you. Leadership lessons, I love it. I'm just going to wrap things up, and we're going to open up the floor to the audience to ask some questions. I haven't been able to ask all the questions that the audience has wanted. So are there any people that have any questions for His Excellency? The ushers will help you. Take one. Thank you. Please state your name, where you're from, what you do, quickly. Ask your question quickly, please. No long dialogues, we're running out of time. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Shone Sumartin Mavesera, and I am from the Rotaract Club. Allow me to read my question so that my command of English is at least par to what I have been hearing. Your Excellency, in this time of economic hardships, there is a light that shines with the emblem of service, the light of Rotary, whose members use their time, talent, and treasure to help those in need. Call on us where humanitarian aid is required, and we will answer. We face challenges in helping people where our funding partners from across the globe find it difficult to remit funds. Even materials face challenges, as the ZIMRA process for exemptions is rigorous and not clear. In the presence of other organizations like ours, I ask Your Excellency to commit your personal attention to assisting those who assist us. My question to you, Your Excellency, is, in this time that we are trying to be part of a global village, what is the government doing to enable us to be a part of it? If I was to decide today to go and visit South Africa, I wouldn't be able to make the payment because foreign payments are blocked for most banks. What is the government doing? Thank you.
Governor?
Thank you, Excellency, and thank you. It's good to be here. What we are doing is very simple. It's a very good question. This economy requires foreign currency. We're all using foreign currency both for foreign payments and for domestic payments. That's unique for any country. What we need to do is to grow the economy, and therefore when this Excellency says that the country is open for business, it means that we need to open the economy, to grow the economy, to grow production, to grow exports, to grow tourism, so that we can increase foreign currency. Money, the bedrock of money is production. If we don't produce, we can't have foreign currency. As easy as that. And therefore, what you are saying is that it's a symptom that you are talking about. We need to export as much as possible, produce more maize, produce more horticulture, produce more gold. Then when you export more, then you can have enough for ourselves. Currently, yes, we've got a deficit of foreign exchange. That's why we need to end it. We need to open our minds, we need to open our agriculture. And therefore, this Excellency's policy of opening up the economy is good for everyone. It's good for you, it's good for us, it's good for Zimbabwe, and it's good for everyone if we do so. So, yes, in the infants period, we've got this deficit. But as we go forward, let's have faith, let's have hope that are going to earn more foreign currency to ensure that those people who need more foreign currency, we need to earn it first and then we spend it. I want to thank you, Excellency.
We only have time, unfortunately, for one more question. Two.
Thank you very much.
Two.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. My question to you is, are you here for the Global Shapers? Joking. My name is Kolani Ndlovu from JCI. This is a movement of young people that is trying to advance the global agenda, the 2030 Global Sustainable Development Goals. My question to you is, what support can we expect from your office for organizations like ours that are trying to advance the global agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals? When I was doing my math, it's possible that by 2030 we'll have a third president from you. So the people sitting in this room are stakeholders into the future of the world and the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you.
Well, what support do you want?
Thank you, Your Excellency. A few times we've worked with different ministries in government. We have represented our country in different parts of the world and tried to sing the Zimbabwean story. Our work is in the grassroots. We need government support in the grassroots work that we do. When we showcase Zimbabwe and the little that we do in the global stage, we would want the support of the government. We want to travel with our ministers. We want to travel and showcase our country with the people that matter in government. Thank you.
Well, I now kind of understand you. You see the ministers are here, some of them are not here. If you had said you wanted support in the area of mining, I would ask the Minister of Mines to say what windows are available. If you had said you wanted support in the area of industry and commerce, I would ask the Minister of Industry and Commerce to say what are the financial windows that are open. If you had said you want to be assisted in the area of energy, I have the Minister of Energy who would have replied, and so on and so on and so on. About the mandates of my ministers, then we would speak about where you can go in the area of concern. But if it is the question of wanting to accompany me to Davos or to other international gatherings, yes, it's possible we can do so. You indicate the office of the president, I have the chief secretary here, Dr. Mishek Swanda, you indicate, and then we look at what your interests are. And if we think it will be useful to take you, we will do so. Because whatever you will do is good for Zimbabwe, not for yourself alone, but is good for Zimbabwe. So we'll make sure we do it and facilitate that you do something for your country.
A woman, please. You first.
Gender.
Yes, we have to balance. And you can go afterwards, ma'am.
Thank you very much. My name is Nicola Grace Obe. I am a law student and mining entrepreneur. I'm also a global shaper with the Bulawayo Hub. For the first time, I would like to say this, President, His Excellency. I've attended World Economic Forum events quite a number of times. And I hate to say that it's been quite an embarrassing scene in the last years. To be a young person with so much vision and passion for this nation, particularly in economic development. I'm a mining entrepreneur, and I'm constantly looking for opportunities. But when we get to the table, especially such platforms, where young people don't have much to say in relation to the development of this economy, and especially the trajectory at which it's headed. So I'm quite excited to say kudos to you, Mr. President, and I do hope you make the most of this opportunity to re-engage this economy into the global economy. So my question to you is, I speak very passionately around the world on issues of sustainable wealth creation. I believe in the potential of this economy. I took up mining at 19 years with no support whatsoever or background or financial assistance whatsoever, because I believed in the potential that this country had. And I'm glad to say it's good to see people like you who really understand, are so in touch with the realities of the development of this economy. What legacy will you leave for us, the young people of this country, in relation to economic development? What should we remember you for when one day you are gone or you retire as president of this country? What will be your legacy for young people in relation to economic development? Thank you.
First, I would want to say to myself, what do I remember about the current younger generation wanting me to do? If that crystallizes, it's easy for me to do that, so you remember me as a result of having crystallized what you would want me to do for you. But in the absence of that, I have opened the window. I have said my administration is open. Our doors are wide open. Let us interact. Let us dialogue. What else would you want? If you can wake up any moment and knock at the president of the state and say, we have issues, and he says, I'll come and listen to you, I'll come and talk to you. That's the legacy you must remember, that we had once a president who was very simple, a villager, who would listen. Thank you.
We had promised one more question. Please, the microphone, and then unfortunately we have to wrap things up.
We have the microphone here.
Okay. Sorry, I can't. Just a moment, sir. We're handing the microphone to her, please. She was next in line, please. Please. Shout, please. Last question, thanks.
My name is Shihira Mutero. I am a lecturer and I'm also the director of publications of an organization called Governance Africa. The first thing that I want to say is not as a stakeholder of anything, just as a Zimbabwean citizen. You asked us to tell the truth today. The public health sector is in crisis in this country. The public health, not the research, etc., where everything is done excellently. The public health sector is in crisis. What is the president, the executive, going to do about the public health crisis? Harare Hospital on most days does not even have water. We need something to be done. If there's capacity for your presidency to take the ministry under executive administration or something of that sort, something needs to be done about the public health.
Thank you very much. It's not only the public health sector that is in crisis. Of course, perhaps that affects you directly. There are many areas in our economy which need immediate attention. But also, the limitation is the availability of resources to address the problems which we have already identified, which challenges we already know. We are going to do that. But also because of goodwill that currently embraces the entire Zimbabwe, currently. We are receiving so much cooperation from our cooperating partners, especially in the area of health and so on. I'm sure if you read the papers today, so how much has been put forward just by one fund. And there are several funds we are discussing with who are willing to come on board, which was not happening in the past. But I can assure you, things will not be addressed as an event. It will be a process. The thing is that from now on, things will begin to improve. The other gentleman, the other comrade was talking about companies being closed every day and sold every day. And again, as the governor was saying, production, exports and exports. As the economy grows, there will be less and less of companies going under, because the economy will be responding to an environment that induces growth.
Thank you, Excellency. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up, but I will ask the audience right now to open your phones, get onto the Zoll spot at Townhall right now, and tweet His Excellency what message you would like for him to take to Davos, please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Office of the President, Ministers, Your Excellency. We appreciate you spending the time, and we hope that this is the beginning of many more forums to come. This is just a start. Things will get better, and we will have more time. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.